Hi, Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on YouTube and other social media platforms. Welcome to the March 2023 special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I am beyond excited to be here with my friend Alicia. She is the fanciful flamingo here on Flosstube, a little bit of a tongue twister for me sometimes. I don't think I can say enough about Alicia. She is such a positive light in our community. I love that she starts every video asking for prayers for people in need. That is very important to her, and she's talked about it. And I think that is just a very giving side of her. She's also very funny and supportive, and she's really real in her videos and in real life. Even though we've not met actually in person, we've texted and talked back and forth, and she has been a huge supporter of my designing endeavor. And she even texted me each morning before market to kind of give me an uplifting message, which I really needed at that time, of just love and support. So it just means so much to me. And I'm just excited to be here and in chatting with her. And y'all are going to get to know her too. If you don't follow her, all the links will be down below, because you definitely need to go subscribe. You just have to go and support her and watch her videos. So thank you so much for being here. We'll just jump into the questions. The first one is, why did you start a Flosstube, and were there any particular motivations?
Yes. So I started it on my 52nd birthday. Cool. And I've said it before, my kids were growing up. You know, my husband has a really fulfilling job, and I was just kind of feeling like my expiration date or something was up, like I wasn't as useful anymore. And I thought, no, I'm going to prove to myself that life, the next chapter is beginning, and the next chapter I can write it. You know, I got married, and so that chapter was written as wife, and then I had kids, and that chapter was written as mom. So I decided that the next chapter was just going to be me.
That is, I love just how you talk and you describe things, and just how you said, like, know your journey and that kind of thing. I love that. We had talked a little bit before we started recording, and I love that, know your journey and just be true to who you are. And I think that's what comes through in your videos as well. So that's I love it. So how did you come up with your channel name? It's such a cool name.
So not on purpose. I, like a lot of stay-at-home moms, kind of got into the MLM world and sold 31 bags and stuff like that for a while, and had a little team. And once you get to a certain level, you have to come up kind of like with a team name. And I didn't have anything, and we were all in South Florida, and one of my teams said we could be something with flamingos. So we were the Flamingals. And then I got out of 31 and started my own personalization business, and became, I don't even remember what it was now, something flamingo. And then that, I don't know, it sort of morphed into the fanciful flamingo. Had I thought about it more, I would have come up with something that wasn't a tongue twister, but it just sort of evolved, and I don't know. See, here I am.
Well, it's one of those cool, unique names that most people don't forget. So that works very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
So I am so old that home ec was offered still in school when I was in middle school. And I think my home ec teacher was exasperated and tired of trying to think of things, and she was a cross stitcher. So she taught us cross stitching, and I was in 7th grade, and I loved it. And I'm an only child. So there's not a lot of, you can't really play board games with yourself. I mean, you read and started cross stitching, and that was in the 80s, and cross stitched through the 80s. and the 90s until I got married, and kind of went away. I think like everybody did in the 90s. I think we were just dimension kitted out and back stitched out. And then I picked it up again for a short time after my daughter was born, because then that mom thing comes into play. And we want to make all of these mementos and these keepsakes. Yes. And we all think we're going to stitch the Noah's Ark, the cute Noah's Ark for the room. And we get 2 animals in and decide, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I did that until my daughter could walk. And then again, we all know that once your kids start walking, your life is really over.
Yes.
And then last year I got into the TikTok world and the craft side of TikTok, and kind of started seeing these cross stitchers. And I was like, I miss it. So I found a free pattern, and I went to Hobby Lobby and bought 14 count white Aida, because that's the only thing I'd ever stitched on, and DMC floss. And then somebody mentioned Flosstube, and we all know, yes, well, it was going to be a cheap hobby.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I did the same thing, kind of stitched off and on. And then when my first daughter was born, I got a Winnie the Pooh birth announcement kit. That's her birth announcement, is a Winnie the Pooh thing. Because that's, they had those kits and so much back stitching and all that other stuff. And back stitching is terrible, but
well, it's not now because we don't do it as much, but back in the day.
True. That was lots. So, do you happen to have a favorite project that you've stitched?
Since I've been back, I've done 2 Liz Matthews. I did the Spanish Rose sampler and then the Clara Hansen. So those are probably, I love anything with Liz. I mean, I love all designers, but those 2 are probably my 2 favorite stitches to date.
I love the butterfly cloche, I think it is. That is so what do you enjoy most about stitching?
I guess it's twofold. One, for me, I have high functioning anxiety, and I've been very open about it, and I take medication for it. So the stitching and the repetitiveness and the motion brings me a sense of calm.
Okay.
And then I wouldn't have met you and all the other wonderful community if it hadn't been. I mean, it's really the people.
Yeah. The community is pretty amazing. Yeah. But I'm like you. I'm a very emotional person, as we've discovered. And, I can easily get stressed, and not being diagnosed with anxiety, but I'm sure, that's part of it too. And stitching is just, everything can just go away, and you're focusing on your counting, and, hours go by and you don't even realize it. And that's the amazing part of stitching. I think it's so calming and just so zen-like. I love it.
And it's cool to start with 1X, because we all start putting 1X on a piece of fabric. And then suddenly you have this thing that you've created from this 1X.
Yep. And some of them look like a painting after, like, if you stand back, it's crazy. It's crazy what floss do. So
the elk that you're doing for your husband for your anniversary is a prime example of what looks like a painting that you would buy in an art gallery.
So funny, because I used to hate stitching on it. Like, I could not bring myself to do it. And then all of a sudden, things just start appearing, as you I'm pushing through it, and now I can't put it down, because you stand back and it's just like, that's tiny X's. What? It's crazy.
And you did it.
That's crazy. Oh, all right. So we're going to get out of Stitchy Talk a little bit and learn a little bit more
Okay.
about you. So what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
Uh, Historical, and it can be fiction or nonfiction. Movie. I go all over the place, but BBC, Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice,
Nice.
uh, Sense and Sensibility, any of those. That would be my go-to.
I always say that in a lot of my interviews that not only do we have stitching in common, but a lot of the people that I've talked to in the interviews, there's also other common likes and hobbies, and that is kind of one of them is like the BBC and the Jane Austen and that type of thing. A lot of the stitchers love that too. So it's just cool doing these interviews and learning about other people and their likes and dislikes, but also putting it all together and seeing that our community is more alike than we thought. It's just like the coolest thing ever. I don't know.
But I have also seen every Marvel movie. So I love all of the Marvel. Yeah, I go all over the place. I like movies a lot. That's another enjoyment.
Do you stitch while watching movies or do you watch the movies?
I can't watch anything without stitching. Like I can't, unfortunately, just sit and focus.
Okay.
So usually stitching, I watch things that I've already seen before,
Yep.
so that I don't have to pay 100% attention.
Yeah. I try to do that too, except for like Sunday nights, we have at home date night where me and my husband will just sit on the couch and watch shows, and there's no stitching, there's no games or whatever he plays. It's just we we watch our shows together. And it's nice,
Awesome.
but like then I'm like, I feel like I should be stitching, I just want to get stuff done. But yeah, sometimes I just need that stitching. So usually when I'm watching like Flosstube or something like that, I'll be stitching and going that route. It's just something to keep my hands busy. Let's see. What fictional place would you most like to go to?
Fictional place. Um, Not that it's fictional, but if I could go back like to the Victorian time,
Okay, that would be
I
cool.
would love to go to the Victorian
That would be
era. It just seems like a very pretty
yeah,
time in history.
yes. That would be really neat. So, if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
If I could choose to do anything for a day, gosh, I guess because again, it's kind of lame, but being a mom, you don't ever really think about what you could do for a day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I could do anything for a day, I would travel to Greece. I've always wanted to visit Greece and just walk the streets and take in some food and just sit somewhere and watch the people, and that's what I would do.
That sounds amazing. I also like to people watch. So, that
Oh, it's fun.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like my husband likes to go hiking and I can't really hike that much because of my health stuff. So I'll kind of hang out and just kind of people watch, and just kind of see what's going on. So love that. Another thing we have in common. So do you happen to have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
I mean, I like to read, but unfortunately now I read less and less because I'm like, oh, I'd rather be the hour I'm reading, I could be cross stitching. Um, I've done every craft in the world, but no, I think especially in this last year, cross stitch has really it's just brought so much joy to me that it's my happy place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think cross stitch takes up a lot of time. So, because I tried to be a quilter and I tried to do wool applique and I tried to do some other things, and it just, we seem to always come back to cross stitch. It's weird, but also cool. So,
I mean, I guess if you looked at my craft room, it looks like I do a lot of hobbies. I like to, like my husband says, I haven't met a hobby I haven't wanted to try and buy.
that's called collecting, which is also a hobby.
But like with cross stitching and finishing, I've been able to use a lot of the wood pieces I've bought or the paint I bought or fabric that I've bought. So I like to say that a lot of that stuff now I can use in cross stitching because it's not just about stitching anymore.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, we do use quite a few different things in our stitching to finish it. So that's neat. I love this question, and I'm curious to see what you're replying. And it's, how would your friends describe you?
Let's see. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And most of my friends say that I want to see the world with rose-colored glasses. I don't like to look at the ugly. So I've probably been disappointed and hurt some because I'd rather stay gullible and just believe in the best. So that's probably what they would say.
Yeah, I could see that. You're always very positive. We had an interaction earlier where I texted you and I was kind of down in the dumps, and you turned it right back around to positive. So I would say supportive. You're very honest, and yeah, I think you described yourself pretty well on that too. So how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use a hoop, a Q-snap, a scroll frame, that kind of stuff?
I've always stitched in hand, but now kind of trying and dipping my toes into some samplers. That fabric is just large and it is just cumbersome to hold in hand. Mm-hmm. So I've been using the Nurge hoops.
Okay.
It's still not a natural thing for me, and I don't think I hold it the best way because I know a lot of people say their hand cramps when they try to stitch in hand. And I think I must hold my hoop awkward. And I think that's just a learning curve, but I have enjoyed the Nurge hoops. I've never tried a scroll frame or a Q-snap or anything like that. So
yeah, I tried the in hand and my hand cramps. Well, a Q-snap, and usually it's in a lap stand, if I can manage it. So yeah. And we've discussed this before the interview, but what do you have a preferred fabric that you kind of like to lean towards?
Everybody knows that I'm an Aida girl. Yep. I am now getting into the even weaves and the Luganas. But the one time I tried the 32 count linen, I just made up lines. Yeah. Didn't even try. So yeah, I need the Aida.
Yeah. And I've always been a diehard Aida stitcher. Even with my designing, I still try to include Aida in it. Funny thing is, Acorns and Threads, Jolynn, who is the finisher for Acorns and Threads, she had made up cards, and I still have mine, and we're called the Aida Gangsters or something like that. So there's an actual,
I love that,
Acorns and Threads. I don't know if I'll be expelled,
I need to join that club. I need to join. Yeah. So now that you're into linen, can you see with just your glasses, or do you need magnification?
Nope, I need magnification. Yeah, because I do 36 count. And I don't think I have 40, but I haven't stitched 40, I don't think. But no.
So do you keep your glasses on and the magnifier?
So yes, I bought the ones that you can kind of like wear and you can interchange the lenses on
Yeah.
it. And I try to keep my glasses on for that, but they hurt my nose so bad. So now I have to take my glasses off to wear them. But I just bought the new light that I'm going to try because I tested it when it was out on display at Acorns and Threads, and it has a really large 3-time magnifier, and I could see it clearly with my glasses. So I'm hoping that with that and the light that's connected, I won't have to wear the ones that hurt my nose. So we'll see how that
So
goes.
let me interview you for a second here. Did you work your way up to 36, or did you just take a leap from Ada to 36?
Yeah, I leapt.
Holy cow.
Because I've always liked 18 or 20 count Ada. That's usually my sweet spot. I love those. I design a lot with those. I stitch a lot with those, period. And then when I started doing reproductions, my first large one, which is right there, the antique, that was my first large one, and it required over 1. And I just jumped in and stitched the model on 36 count and did the over 1, but I had to use magnifiers. I got a lot of headaches. It was rough. I do not like linen. I am very upfront with it, but I will stitch it if my model requires it. But yeah, I just jumped in.
So when you say over 1, what is that, like 1 square?
Yeah, on 36. So like Ada is like, I'll do 1 strand over the 1.
Right.
So you basically go over. So same concept with the linen. Most people will do over 2, and then the over 1 makes it super tiny. So it's just like going in the tiny holes, because all the words are over 1. So they're super tiny. So it was a learning curve. And it probably started in the wrong spot because so many people, I had posted like a close-up of my start, and a lot of people were like trying to give me suggestions. I think I started in the wrong spot because you have to start it in a certain spot so that your stitches don't slip. I kept going. I didn't have stitches slipping. I just was really careful. It's probably not the greatest stitching that I've ever done, but it, the model looks okay. So yeah, but
I am in awe of you.
And well, if I had my choice, I would choose Ada over linen any day. So yeah,
You look beautiful on linen.
I've bought a lot of linen, but I really don't want to stitch on it. So no. So do you have a favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring any stitching along when you went?
No, because I just got back into stitching last year. This is the second time now that I have traveled with stitching. And we're such creatures of habit. Like in our stitchy spaces, we have it all set out a certain way. Yeah. So the one thing that I've noticed even in traveling this time is like, it's the same stitching, but it's just like I tried to stitch on the plane, and even just a little bit of, turbulence in the bouncing, I was like, where's the whole, I can tell you right now, I don't like stitching and traveling. But my favorite place to have been, I grew up between the States and Spain, Saragossa, Spain, and that's what I consider home. So, and I guess too, because I'm a history buff, I love Europe, and I love Spain is probably my favorite place.
Oh, that would be awesome. I've never really been anywhere outside the US. So I live vicariously through everybody else for that. But no. Yeah. I will stitch in the car. Like when we go on our adventure drives, I will stitch up until my husband says, okay, time to put it away because we're going off-roading and you're going to miss all the sites. So I try to do it.
That would be my
well,
that would be mine.
That's what I was saying, because I have my patriotic piece and I got it all ready just to fill in on the drive. to Nashville, right? And I'm like, okay, I could just sit there. And I got it out on the freeway when we first started. And then I don't know, we got into some farmland or something like that. And he's like, are you really going to stitch when there's all this beautiful sight to see? And I was like, good point. Good point. So I put it away and I was going to stitch
They
it.
are right. But
right. But I would have
true.
missed a lot. So yeah, kudos to him. But I try to stitch as much as I can. So what can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to must-have, besides, of course, the fabric and the basic stuff.
So I use Stitcher's lotion for my hands. My hands get very dry, and then the floss catches like on dry cuticles and stuff.
Yep.
And snags. So I'm constantly putting the Stitcher's lotion on my hands. And then
yeah,
Good Notes. I got into Good Notes. I love Cecilia Turner, and I love all of her patterns, but they're teeny tiny. So I got good. That was the first thing I tried on Good Notes, and I can blow it up. And
yep,
I still make mistakes in counting because counting is hard, but less mistakes.
that's awesome. I use the Stitcher's lotion. My Ellen Hess sells it, and I tried it for the first time, and I really like it. It doesn't leave your hands super greasy, so you can kind of get back to the stitching, which is really nice on that. And I'm the same way. Good Notes, iPad, Good Notes. All of my charts go in there. I don't care how big they are. They go in.
Yes.
Notes. Yep.
Now I still like to get the paper charts. Just to have it.
Yeah.
But I immediately scan it and only stitch from Good. Plus the lighting on the iPad makes it easier to see too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's exactly what I do. I don't think that I could stitch from like a paper chart anymore. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I try when I create my designs, because I see a lot of other designers have the smaller pamphlets, which are good for space, but I like my charts bigger. Like I use the standard size paper. I try to make the squares bigger, like, so that it may use up more paper on my end because I print my own, but I want people to be able to see the chart, if that makes sense, because that's what I would want. I would want a bigger chart. So mine are all bigger for that reason. I don't know at some point if I'll ever make them smaller, but I like the bigger charts.
Yeah, I don't think I could on paper anymore. You get spoiled.
That is true, because you can zoom in, you can mark off, you can move all around. Love it. I like this next question because I like to see how everybody's brains kind of work, and it's, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next?
Well, I am a planner, so I have my months planned out. I do a patriotic on the 4th. I do a Halloween on the 13th. I do a Valentine's Day on the 14th. So I know what I'm stitching. But I use those 12 by 12 scrapbook clear containers to hold my patterns.
Okay.
And they're all like by seasons and events. And I literally on the 4th put my hand in there, whatever comes out is what I'm going to stitch on that month.
That's cool. That's actually neat, because you're
a little spontaneity.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, because a lot of people that I've talked to in these interviews are just like, whatever calls to me. Like, I don't have any rhyme or reason. And then there's just a small handful that are like, I have it planned out. I do this whipco, or I do this, or I do this. And you're kind of a little bit of both. Like, you have it planned out, but you still have that, like, whatever I pull out is what I'm going to work on. So that's kind of cool. It's the best of both worlds. Nobody's ever answered like that I can remember. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Because I'm not a planner person. I tried planners. I think I did it for the first month. I tried the for Mania, the wheel. And the wheel made me mad because I didn't want to be told what to stitch. So I gave that up. So I'm just
So that's how I feel too. I'm like, if I feel like I have to do it for whatever reason, then that's the one I don't want to do.
Yep.
So but I feel like if I left it up to, I don't know, fate, I would never stitch anything because then I would be overwhelmed by too many choices.
Yeah.
So I have to have a little bit of both.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a great idea. I may try to implement something like that just because I have a lot of whips and I want to focus, but it's really hard to have content, for our channels if you really want to focus. Like I want to focus on the elk, but that doesn't make for like the greatest video basically. So I kind of like that. I like that option of just kind of picking from like my patriotic and seeing what comes out. I might try that. We'll see. So we are down to the last question already, but before we get to that last question, which is my most favorite, I'm just curious if there's something that you would like to share that not many people know about you.
My first language is Spanish. I didn't learn to speak English until I started kindergarten.
Wow, I did not.
So my dad was American and my mom was from Spain. And in the house, the three of us only spoke Spanish. But my dad would only speak to me in English. So I understood it, but I would only respond in Spanish. And then when I started kindergarten here in the States, I was kind of forced to then speak it. So, but Spanish is what I consider my first language.
So can you still speak that like fluently now, even though it was that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I took Spanish classes throughout school, but I don't remember much of anything. So I thought maybe because, in kindergarten, if you were kind of forced to speak English, that maybe it kind of went
still
away.
Only spoke Spanish at home.
That's so cool.
And then still lived in Spain. And then my husband's parents are Cuban, so he speaks Spanish. Okay. But we did not teach our children.
Oh.
We did an epic fail. And then by that point, he and I were so assimilated into the American culture that, we spoke English at work. He and I spoke English to each other. We met in college. So at that point, it took more thought for us. We still, when we talk in Spanish, it's because we're talking about the kids in front of them. They hate it, but we love it. Yeah.
Well, that'll just teach, they'll want to learn it.
You think it would motivate them to learn what we're saying, but.
Yep. That's funny. That's too funny. That's so cool. I didn't even realize. That's so neat. Love that.
Yeah.
So my most favorite question, and I say it in every video, every interview. I ask this for a reason because the past few years have basically been rough for us all. We all know that. And so the question is, what's the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years?
I've had a rough couple of years, but I think because it was rough, I have learned what's really important in life. We're all human. We all get upset about small stuff sometimes, and we can let that affect us. But then if you sit back and look at how many people we've lost in the pandemic and how much of life as we knew it has changed. And for a lot of us, we had life-changing events with like 9/11. It puts into perspective what's really important. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm always grateful for the rough times, because if we didn't have those, we wouldn't appreciate how awesome the awesome times are.
And there you are. You do it again. You spin it. You're always spinning into the positive, and I love it. I need to take a page from your book, definitely in doing that. I think a lot of people need to do that because we just let little things bring us down or things that we can't control. That's me. My husband always says, why are you letting it get to you? That's something that you can't control. Um, and I need to learn to spin it to the positive or just let it go. So
It's hard. My husband is sounds like a lot like yours, and he has been a very positive influence. I hope he never watches this. Because he's a very go with the flow. Yep. And I, for many years, was Chicken Little. The sky was always falling. And it was taking the joy out of what should be good times. And then you get smacked in the face a couple times and you're like, yeah, it sucked at the moment, but we made it through. So let's just be thankful for the ride.
Yep. We're going to have to get together because I think our husbands would get along because mine is pretty laid back, go with the flow, just, whatever, doesn't let things get to him. Very level headed.
No, and I try to push mine's buttons all the time.
I can't push his buttons. Like you would, no, he just doesn't. I don't know. Because we don't fight. Like we'll like joke around, but we don't really like argue. But if I get in a mood and like I want to argue, he is just like a wall. He just lets me go and then that's it. And it drives me crazy sometimes, but then other times.
Does it not?
Yeah.
Like wind you up even more? Yes. The calmer my husband gets, the more wound up I get. And then I like kind of see myself out of body.
Yep.
And then I'm more at, and then I blame him for me getting worked up on my own.
Yeah. Yep. It's that vicious cycle. Yeah. It drives me crazy. Yeah. But I mean, I'm kind of glad for it because I fighting is terrible, but sometimes you just want to go. I don't know, but that's too
Two
funny.
of me would not be good in my household. Two of me would not be good. No.
Yeah, that's too funny. Very similar in that aspect, I guess, in our marriages too. So that's really neat. So I had a great time chatting with you.
Me too.
Great interview, learning more about you. And I hope people go over and check out your channel and your Facebook group and all the other stuff that'll be linked down below. Because I think everybody needs a little bit of cheering up and positivity, regardless of how positive or great things are for them. And I think your channel brings that. And you're just full of fun. So,
well, so are you. And you just got your first market behind you.
Yeah.
And amazing, amazing designs. And I get to host a stitch along for one of your designs that we're going to start this week. So thank you very much for doing that with me. I'm really, really excited and I can't wait to stitch with everybody.
Going to be fun. It's definitely going to be fun. And I'm excited too. I'm honored. It's crazy that a stitch along is happening for me. I don't know. Blows my mind. But
plus I get to turn the tables next week and interview you as our guest designer, Stitch Your Stash.
Yes, I'm actually really nervous. I've never actually been interviewed, so we'll see how it goes. But all right, well, we're going to say bye to everybody on Flosstube. Bye.
Bye, everybody on Flosstube.